all the glorious deliciousness. This is going to be hard. I am a large girl and have dieted my whole adult life. I had a wake-up call in 2011 when I was the largest I'd ever been and went on a period of massive weight loss. No pun intended by the word massive, of course. But then I had health issues and had to take tablets for it, which resulted in weight gain. But I'm going to talk more about that in another episode because that is important for you to understand my journey. Anyway, fast forward to just before the heart attack. I had been referred by my GP to a dietitian at the local hospital who weighed me on the 19th of April. It's a date that's stuck in my head. I was heavy, but I wasn't quite my heaviest. Little did I know that that would be my benchmark for the year, now the past 18 months. At that session, I made a commitment to lose 5% of my body weight. I'm not going to tell you what that is. Some things are a little bit private. I may tell you in due course, I don't know. So I made that commitment. I had already given up sugar. In my last job, I was working away from home and spending a lot of time in hotels, doing long hours, and my diet wasn't great. My diet was pretty rubbish unless I found a hotel that did good food. But then if food was included, you ate 3 courses and you came away in the morning with your breakfast doggy bag that would last you through the day. So I had made that commitment to giving up sugar, because when I saw Jules, and he'd just come back from glorious, wonderful winter in Spain, and he said to me, very truthfully, so don't make any judgments here, he said, "You've got fat," which is true. I had. Hands up, I'd got fat. I had gained weight. So when I finished at that job, I took my suitcase straight to his and I stayed there for 10 days or so. He does not have a sweet tooth in his body, even though he does make the most amazing chocolate mousse. Wow. I miss his chocolate mousse, amongst other things. And so I went cold turkey on sugar. No cake or sweets or even sweetener in my tea or coffee. I'd given up having sugar in my tea and coffee ages ago and used to have sweetener tablets or this little squirty stuff that this particular manufacturer does. The trouble with this is, though, it says 1 squirt is 1 teaspoon, but you don't know how much is in a squirt, really. So I did find it difficult. Anyway, I had given up sugar before I was weighed, so I don't know what it would have been before then. I'd always had a sweet tooth. My dad was an ice cream man, and there was always ice cream around. And my mum had a shop where behind the door, I remember it, there was floor to ceiling a shelving rack full of these big jars of sweets. So they're always around. So yeah, sweet tooth, great or not. I would always have a packet of mints on me. I don't actually have any mints to show you because I threw them away. And I would, if I was hungry, I would munch on 2 or 3 mints. I remember working with a guy he used to get really cross with me because he'd just hear me crunching because I wasn't a a sucker of mints, I would crunch on them and he would go, "Ugh," get annoyed with me. But anyway, I liked sweet things. Fast forward a little bit. The day that I was admitted to hospital, which was just after my heart attack, they weighed me, and I'd already hit that 5% target. Wow. In less than 2 months, just less than 2 months. And I was really pleased. They would say, "Oh, you know, you're very overweight." And it's like, yeah, but look what I've done. I've got a year to do this and I've done it. Yay me. Which was a little bit of light in a very gloomy and doomy situation. But that was just going to be the start of it. The heart attack was a shocker and a massive wake-up call, as you can imagine. So I had to do more about my food and how I was handling food. When I left hospital, I did some meal planning because I had the carers coming in that planned every meal and included leftovers. So I had to look at my portion control. Things had already started to change in hospital. I'd already given up the salt. Yay. I think I'm on almost 500 days of no salt now, which I'm pleased with. But some foods are a bit bland without salt. The worst one that I found was broccoli. Broccoli without salt, not so good. But there are ways and means. You've developed a big herb rack or spice rack to add flavour without all the nasties in them. So changes were afoot. Things that I previously considered healthy options, I realised weren't. When I worked, I would buy these porridge pots, thinking, yay, healthier option than, getting a sandwich from the canteen. But let's have a look at this. Let's have a look at the ingredients. I'm not going to read labels for everything, but one tub, which is 87 grams, has 16 grams of sugar in it. Wow. That's 18% of your daily amount. That's if you're sticking to however many calories it says. I'd have to read more of the label and take my glass off. You really don't want to see me squinting around. But that's a lot of sugar for one small pot. This pot has probably only got about that much content in it. So it's a lot. And this is a healthier thing? Wow. I did not know. And I do have a cupboard full of the stuff which I still need to get rid of, but that's a job for another day. My hospital gripe with breakfast was the cereal. There was a lot of sweet cereals that I don't want to know what the sugar is. I just know that they were adding sugar to it, or they were sweet things. I'm not going to go into brand names because I'm not that interested in that, nor do I wish to get into any trouble with anybody. The only option for me was toast, which came with jam. Don't want jam. Jam's got sugar in it. Okay, there's fruit, but there's a lot of sugar. So I found myself having brown bread and butter, because butter is good. Butter is good fat. I am going to talk about butter in a second, and fats in general. So breakfast was bread, and not white bread, not dirty, stinky, tasty white bread, but brown bread. Substitutes have been made. I don't have white rice anymore. I have brown bread, I have brown rice, but not definitely not brown pasta. That is a step too far. The Italian in me just won't go there. It is foul. I just cannot eat it. So no. Ugh. Anyway, back to fats and butter. Years ago, I used to have low-fat Marge, low-fat spread, thinking it was again the healthier choice, until Jules left a tub out one day, and just to prove a point. And after several days, the pot was like rubber. I'm sure if I'd thrown it on the ground, it would have bounced, but it looked foul, and I thought, I'm not putting that inside of me. And so when it came down to what am I going to have on my toast, it was, right, I'm having butter, I'm having good butter, and I'm having brown bread. Not Marge at all. I always liked cooking with olive oil, but I alternated with rapeseed oil depending on what I was cooking. Which, let's go on to cooking. I've never been a slave to the cooker. Never been a fan of, of standing at the cooker for hours. Not unless it was social and I was cooking and chatting, but cooking for one, you don't want to do that. So meals had to be easy, particularly when I had the carers in, because I didn't want them spending the whole time cooking a meal. I do remember one night there was some salmon, which I was going to have with some brown rice, and they didn't know how to cook the salmon, which is fine. Not everybody does. But for me, delicious way. Boil your salmon, take off your skin, mash it up a bit, add a few herbs, add your brown rice, sorted, easy meal in 5 minutes or so. I do have a microwave in the house because in the past most of my meals for speed were ready meals, easy in the microwave, easy to eat, but not very satisfying and not very filling either. I can't actually remember the last time I used my microwave. No, I think I've got things in front of it, so I don't use it. Likewise, takeaways. Oh, I loved a Papa John pizza. Other pizzas are available. But I haven't had a takeaway since. I did try a couple of shop bought pizzas a couple of weeks ago, and I really didn't enjoy them. My taste buds have clearly changed. I'm never saying never again to things, but moderation was key. I found myself having smaller portions of food, and realised it's actually really great to have leftovers, because then you don't have to worry about lunch the next day. I don't have to eat everything in one go. So batch cooking is my friend. I'll make a large pan of dal and have that for several days with some bread, and that's brilliant. Last year we went to Colwyn Bay to a photography exhibition, and we went there to see Mark Power. Mark Power is the genius photographer behind a book called The Shipping Forecast, amongst other things. The Shipping Forecast is something which I will gush about in more detail in a later episode, but Jules is working on a film about the shipping forecast where he takes his drone around every shipping area and films it. It's being put together with a fantastic composer who we know called Tim, and that is something which I'm going to be doing the marketing for, so watch this space for more on that. Anyway, total digression. We went to Colwyn Bay, got an interview with Mark Power. Yay, brilliant. Whilst we were waiting, we went for lunch, and I was very good and had an alcohol-free drink. But again, that's another episode where I talk about alcohol. And Jules ordered a burger and chips. Tempting as the salads were, I knew that I would sit there feeling deprived, looking at his food, secretly wanting to eat what he was eating. So I ordered the same. And the portion was massive. I found myself eating the chips, but with no salt. My first chips with no salt. And yeah, it's totally doable. Just add vinegar, bit of extra flavour, no problem. I couldn't eat it all, so they did me a doggy bag, which I brought home, which was great stuff. But when I came home and I was eating the meat, I didn't enjoy it. Couldn't eat the beef burger. I'd always played a game, a team building game at work, to say, right, to this part of getting to know you, is to what would your last meal be? And mine was always steak and chips. And for me, a rare steak. I'm not going to show pictures, not going to go into detail, but I'd liked my steak nice and rare. That was going to be off the cards now, wasn't it? I'd have to rethink my last meal. Yeah, definitely no steak. In fact, my taste buds really have changed a lot. I tried some lamb earlier this year. Didn't enjoy lamb at all. But so I eat more fish now. Fish is definitely great, and I find lots of varied ways to cook it. And I do have fish and chips at the seaside, because I've been to one of my favourite spots in Aberystwyth and had my white bait and chips, but again, no salt. Talking of being at the seaside, the one thing I have really missed, being the daughter of an ice cream man, is ice cream. Oh, I really found myself missing ice cream. It did have lots of things in the freezer, like frozen puddings, said ice cream. But I needed the space, and I knew that I wasn't going to eat these things again. So I put on the local Facebook group, does anybody want my sweet stuff? This was last summer, so people happily came and took it away, and I ended up with more space for frozen vegetables for those times when I couldn't get out and get veggies. So that was good, and they were going to a good space. What else have I lost my taste buds for? Yeah, talking of vegetables, sprouts. I loved, with a D, sprouts. I can't eat them now. What's that about? So, no steak and chips, no sprouts, no pizza. Lamb was immaterial about. But those, what the heck? No sprouts. Honestly, talk about weirdness. I am not going to say it's been easy. I've had 2 lapses with chocolate, but as I journal, I know what sparked off those lapses, and it wasn't just, oh, I fancy some chocolate, I'm going to have a bit. They were a go-to reaction to something that had happened in my life, which I'm not going to go into. But the following day I stopped, because there had been a reason for it. The first time I actually opened a packet of chocolate biscuits, and I got halfway down the pack and I threw them in the bin and went to bed. The following morning I came down and they were still staring at me in the bin, and I thought, I'm not going there. So I went and emptied the bin into the big bin out the front, which I couldn't reach down into. And although that packet had gone, I I still know where the other packet is, but I haven't had them. One of the things on my to-do list is to go through all of my food cupboards, or to get some help in and go through all of my food cupboards and take away all of the things which I no longer consider food, which I want to eat, like the sweets, like the biscuits, like the snacky loaded with sugar fruit bars and cake bars and OT bars and things like that. So those are all got to go. Although I had those 2 lapses, previous me would have thought, oh, I'm a failure, I might as well carry on eating them. But I wasn't, because I got back up and I stopped again, which is a measurement of success and willpower, because I don't want to be the person that gives up. Because if I give up, then I'm giving up on me, I'm giving up on my heart, and I don't want to do any of those things. Yeah, you know, I do miss stuff. But let's go back to sugar. I've got a big bag in front of me. This is here in case I have visitors, not visitors, and they want sugar in their tea or coffee. You know, 5 gram teaspoon of sugar has a lot of calories in it. 20 calories for 5 grams. Considering this whole bag is, gosh, a kilogram, that's a lot of sugar. And I was putting lots of sugar in my tea and previously coffee. But there are alternatives. There's fruit, there's dates, there's honey. Tell you what I do with dates. I mash dates up in a little blender, and then I put them on a wholemeal wrap if I do desperately need a sweet fix. But those are few and far between. But I know they're there, and that's healthy sugar. It's natural sugar. It's fruit sugar, which is better than that. My eating isn't perfect. I am not a clean eater, as they say, nor am I super strict. I do like certain foods still. I love my can of orange soup, not blue soup, if you get the reference. Orange soup was what I called tomato soup, and a particular brand beginning with H. That was my comfort soup as a child, and my comfort food if I was sick. My mum would always bring through a bowl of orange soup. But food is just one element of the things which have changed. And I have so much to say about how your body processes food and gains weight. That is something that you've got to look forward to in the future. And that was because I was asked the question, I don't know how you gained so much weight during lockdown. Well, I found out why I gained so much weight during lockdown. But that is a bit sciencey and a bit techie. So I'm going to leave that for another episode, because I've talked far too long. I am going to share one little highlight though with you. As you may or may not be aware, I knit, I craft, and I go along to a knit night once a month in my local yarn store here in Shrewsbury that is run by the wonderful Amanda, and who works in the shop. And every month there's biscuits and cake and I sit there and watch other people eat, which is okay. I can do that. But Amanda, wonderful Amanda, made a cake, not just for me, that was just sweetened with honey and fruit. And it was fantastic. So fantastic that I had 2 pieces that night. But I didn't come home and think, oh, I need sweet stuff now. I just savoured it, enjoyed it. And that's what food's supposed to be about, isn't it? Food is supposed to be enjoyed and savoured and relished. So I can have sweet things, but for my heart, I choose not to. And I can do it. And it does feel fan-ruddy-tastic. Next time, I'm going to talk about alcohol. So join me then when I see if you can get merry without worrying about those pesky units. If you like what I'm doing, then it would be great if you could like, comment, subscribe, and share with anyone you think may find this interesting. Also, if you ring the bell, you'll get notifications when I upload my next video.